the most important aspect of our life, relationships. What would we be without relationships, right? We all know that our relationships either make us or break us. They are a major, important, and very integral part of our lives, and it takes a two-way commitment for it to thrive and grow. To take us through this panel discussion, we have a beautiful woman who lit our lives by lighting the lamp first thing in the morning. She is an HR professional with around 30 years of rich experience in driving business results through effective management of various people processes. She is also a practicing executive coach with close to 15,000 hours of coaching and is also a keen happiness coach. She is the CEO of Denovo Group, one of the largest HR consulting firms, working with more than 14 sectors of industries. Prior to this, she has had rich industrial experience of 30 plus years in MNCs and PSUs. Her last stint in the corporate ladder was as head of Group HR, Crompton Grieve, Ellen. She is the recipient of various awards and facilitations at national level, which also includes Yes Bank's Rana Kapoor Award for Women Entrepreneurs and Women Leader in Business, Corporate Services 2020 by the Global SME Chapter. Who better to moderate a panel on relationships than somebody with such rich life experiences? Please help me welcome Rashmi Bhargava.
Hi, Kavita.
You are looking so beautiful, my dear.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you for such a warm welcome, and I love what you are doing.
Thank you so much. And we are so excited for this panel. It's going to be a very enriching experience, and I hand over the stage to you and the panelists to take this forward.
Nothing is perfect.
Thank you.
Messy. Relationships are complex. Outcomes are uncertain. Does this resonate with anybody here, my dear audience? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, everyone desires a fulfilling relationship, and maybe with partners, spouses, children, colleagues, bosses, clients, or anybody else. Shikha and Saloni taught us how to love ourselves. Alpa and Farah taught us how to set boundaries. And now we need to strive towards our fulfilling relationships. The more closely we are connected to the people we are associated with, the happier we feel, and the more personal satisfaction we have in our lives. Good afternoon, you beautiful audience, and so lovely to see your smiling eyes. Relationships is a topic which is very close to everyone's heart. And there are various kinds of relationships, and we can go on talking about them. Today, we just have enough time to see the relations from a male's perspective, female's perspective, and the coach's point of view. To discuss this, we have with us Mr. Rajshekhar KS. Yes, we have a man amongst women, and we call him Raj. He is currently GM marketing at matrimony.com and has been spearheading hundreds of stories about couple relationships and dozens of happy marriage workshops for the last 9 years. Interestingly, he's the author of How to Read Your Husband Like a Book. He's also a speaker and has written over 200 articles in the media. Now, there is some exciting news for all of you here. We are going to, at the end of the session, we are going to have a Q&A session. And the 5 best questions will be picked and given Raj's book. So please also mention your email IDs in the chat box if there are questions, and let's have the chat box on fire. Our next panelist, Preeti, is an internationally certified ICF PCC coach She has been an HR professional and has worked with companies like Victoria's Secret, American Red Cross, Wendy's in the US and in Dubai. And in her quest for personal growth and finding her purpose in life, she discovered coaching. Today, she is a keynote speaker. She is a mentor, trainer, and a relationship coach. She is the founder of ENABLEance, state president of Wiki, and her mission is to reduce number of divorces in the country. Help me welcome the ever-beaming Preeti Khare. We also have with us the highly energetic Anuradha Sant. Anuradha Sant, unknown to most of us, has been an HR professional all her life with a career spanning 3 decades. She has led a boutique HR consulting firm, been a corporate leader heading the HR functions in large MNCs, and now a master certified leadership coach.
Sorry, wrong number.
She is passionate about her diverse experience. She has effectively worked on all sides of the table and has effectively navigated the space of relationships in her own life. Starting with Preeti. Love is an untamed force. When we try to control it, it destroys us. And we try to understand it, it just leaves us feeling lost and confused. Preeti, my question to you, when we all know that relationships are at the core of happiness and we have well-meaning intentions, then what comes in our way? Why do we struggle to find happiness in our relationships? Preeti.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Rashmi, for asking the very important why here. To understand, let me quickly share some statistics. India is one of the lowest divorce rate countries in the world. But if we look at the happiness index, India ranked 136 out of 146 that participated in the UN World Happiness Survey 2021. We are even behind China and Pakistan. Well, what does this data tell us? In many countries, including India, we confuse the longevity in marriage with the success of the relationship. We choose to stay in relationships even where we are not happy. One of the many reasons, the two that emerge very strongly for me for unfulfilled relationships are not being able to set the right expectations. And number 2 is unpreparedness. I invite you all to recall the time when you were in a steady relationship or had an affair. Did it ever make you feel special? Come on, audiences, say yes in the chat box if you did. Yes? Yes? The flowers, the gifts, the chocolates, the undivided attention. We constantly fantasize a perfect world. The entire emphasis back then, if you look at it, was how the other person made you feel. And we get so used to this feeling. But if you look at it closely, the whole concept is so self-involved. Marriage is not just about I, though. Once you tie the knot, it is the whole package that comes along the way, and it requires a lot of compromises and adjustments on both the sides. Once the euphoria begins to settle down, the focus of your partner begins to shift to finances, running the house smoothly, career, and whatnot. And somewhere deep down, we are not prepared for this mental shift. Our feelings and unmet expectations then start to reflect in our behavior in all the areas of our life. We begin to see the problem with our partner and the folks around. Same thing happens when growing up children don't listen to us and exhibit the behavior which is not okay with us. We see it as a problem with the child. Now, can you all notice something here? Whenever things are not going our way, we see faults with others. We blame, we criticize, we emphasize more on what's not okay rather than focusing on what's good.
Wonderful.
Unfortunately, we usually fail to notice our own pattern, styles, and emotions. And here lies actually the opportunity for the introspection. self-work and guidance, and to be able to understand that relationships are genuine connections with another being. And we need to have mutual respect, love, and care. Let's not forget that relationship is a work and it needs continuous work with a lot of patience. So Rashmi, I strongly believe that if we can soften our expectations and be mentally prepared to face it all together, we surely can create fulfilling relationships.
Thank you, Preeti. Any takeaways, audience? Just put it on the chat. I think the take soften expectations, and that is the key to keeping the relationship intact. Now, coming next, can you please highlight what have been your most important challenges and wins in this area? Raj, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, sure, Rashmi. Good afternoon. Thanks, Rashmi, for the lovely introduction that you gave. I hope I live up to that. And hi, Anu and Preeti, my amazing fellow panelists. And I'm sure the audience is enjoying a great day here of love, learn, and leap. And we will also add to that. Okay. We all have a fair share of challenges in relationships, whether it's personal, in the family, at work, or elsewhere. And I'm no different. I would like to share with you two such challenges that I have faced in my life, and also want to tell you how I managed that very well later. The initial one was, I'm married for 25 years now. 25 years ago when I got married, my wife was from Mumbai. She's the vada pav, ragda pattis, dal pakwan type. And I'm from Chennai, the idli, dosa, vada type. Right? So when we got together, she would talk so much and I would talk very little. And she kept telling me that I need to express myself better. It created a kind of awareness within me that perhaps when it comes to our relationship with a woman, the expectations and the way we need to express are completely different. Mine came from my background of patterns that I had as a child. My father was a man full of action and low on words. And I've often heard him telling his cousins that a man must speak less. It's a woman who will express. It's a woman who's driven by emotions. Men should be full of action and less of words. Somehow that stayed in my mind and that kept working in me. But after marriage, when I encountered this, I began to listen. And once I began to listen, I began to understand. And once I began to understand, I felt the need to care for somebody else's feelings. Over a period in time, we built a few rituals at home. We would have a separate time for ourselves where we could talk and we could chat. So that made me unwind, that made me open up. We would have our regular share of outings. And then we would discuss regularly on several things. This helped me overcome that. And soon, over a period in time, I think I fairly managed that very, very well. Today, of course, she tells me that I speak too much. That's a different story altogether. Okay. The second one is a work experience. Many years ago, when I was working in a big corporate, I had a lovely colleague, full of energy and full of temperament. Every time my colleagues saw him, they used to run, hide, and literally duck. I'm talking about literally people would actually bend down into their cabin spaces. That my friend had a lot of strengths. The strengths were not being recognized. The strengths were not being spoken about. Everybody was able to see the black dot on a sheet of white paper. I decided not to see the black dot. I saw the good side of things and I showcased the good side of things to the rest of the people in the office. And soon we became buddies and we went on to win a national award together for the company.
Wonderful.
These are two things that I think I managed very well. Thanks. That's it.
Anu, your take on this.
First of all, thank you so much, Rashmi and everyone, to have me here. And I think warm welcome to the panelists. I think we really, bring our thoughts together. So what we are talking about here today is moving from what we saw in the beginning of our sessions today, moving from self-love to loving the others. And within that, the different relationships that we live with. They could be personal and they could also be professional relationships. And relationships, I feel, have to be constantly worked upon and nurtured. And the moment we stop doing that, challenges start happening. Let me start by giving you an example, and I will give you an example from my professional side. As a consultant earlier and now a coach, I come across a lot of clients and stakeholders. And one particular client of mine, he was new in his role and had an agenda to build his credibility and earn some brownie points for himself. And in that case, he was not being very open and transparent with all the information that was required to work on his project. This led to not a very open and transparent kind of a communication, led to misunderstandings, because somewhere we felt that ego, self, and one-upmanship was coming in our way. It didn't seem as if we were on the same team working on a common goal. And the environment became toxic and we were headed towards complete disaster. On sensing this, we called for a meeting and stated what we were feeling very, very openly. There was no room for subtlety in that conversation, and we were honest with each other. And we also made it a point that we treated each other with respect, care, and dignity. There were differences, but we sorted them out in a very plain speaking manner. And thus we were able to establish trust, and we felt secure and happy in that relationship, and the project was completed successfully. And here I would just say that we all live in different roles that we play in our lives, and there are different forms of relationships. The win, Rashmi, is when we remember our roles clearly and we move from the concept of I to we.
Wonderful, wonderful. Audience, any takeaways? Please put it in the chat. Yes, we really need to do away with egos and build trust and respect, both in personal and professional relationships. Today in our audience, we have singles, people who are married, and there are people whose children are going to get married. Preeti, you do premarital coaching, and Raj, you have an experience at matrimony.com. What, according to you, are the very significant points that people could keep in mind to ensure happier marriages? Preeti, can I have your point of view first?
Yeah, Rashmi. I feel for happier marriages, it is vital for individuals to know themselves pretty well. Know their partners is the second thing that they should keep in mind, and also understand what marriage entails. So I will tell you that this time, my son, who is a 19-year-old chap, he seems to have a friend and he is pretty serious for her. This summer, while he was visiting us here, I not only helped him do a self-discovery session, but also empowered him to create a list of things that are important to him for his relationship and of those that he would like to know about the partner that he would ever seek.
Very nice.
Before he left for his university, he had a clear plan, Rashmi, to help this friend of his to do a similar activity in an absolute good faith. So the first activity in this premarital coaching that we do is to know oneself, and it gives us the understanding of the strengths, weaknesses, values, beliefs,
wonderful,
food preferences, habits, etc. Then it is about the partner, right? Getting to know the partner, and it is about what is her idea or his idea about family. What are the activities that will qualify for helping at home? What's the idea of entertainment? So all these questions, small questions, they all become very important and can be the sources of conflict later. And then when it comes to marriage, of course, there are things like parenting style. Do you first of all want to become a parent is the first question. And then what, if you want to, what is your parenting style? What is your idea of vacation? And then of course, what is the deal breaker? So I think the list is endless, but the idea is to have more confidence when we are picking a better half. So this definitely helps in premarital.
Thank you, Preeti. What's your take on this?
Yes. See, from my experience, my team has interviewed close to 4,000 people who have got married. And I have anchored workshops. 30,000 people have traversed to the relationship and marriage workshops. I have realized a few things that are very, very important when you set onto the path of searching for the right partner and laying the foundation for a good marriage. There are two things that come to mind. The first thing is you have to be very, very clear about what your negotiables are and what your non-negotiables are. When it comes to non-negotiables, you have to spend more time in the discussion with your partner, setting it right and clear that these things I will not compromise on. So what could be some of those things on which you will not compromise on, which is very dear to you for your own happiness? One of those things could be, I want to study after marriage. Study calls for investment of time. Study calls for investment of resources. This is something you should certainly talk to your partner much before you take the next step. There are some people who have certain beliefs that they want to follow. They have to discuss that beforehand. No surprises after the deal is done. For some, they pursue a passion. It could be dance, it could be art, it could be traveling the world. So many passions that people want to pursue. That also involves time away for themselves, what we can call as the me time. This is something that you need to discuss with your partner.
Wonderful.
Some of them have a sibling at home who's younger and whose education needs to be funded after the person's marriage. Now, if you're going to give away 10, 15, 20% of your funds after marriage to either your parents to support them for a better life or to fund your sibling, I think that's something you should very, very clearly discuss with your partner. I think you should not miss that. Or for example, if you want to take a break from work and then you want to dabble in business for a couple of years, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to try something new, I think you need to inform the partner. There can't be surprises afterwards that I'm going to invest 10, 15, 20 lakhs on trying my beauty business, my fashion business, or whatever. I think you should have a clear discussion with them.
Wonderful.
So these important things which you don't compromise on, I think you should talk to them. The negotiables are things where you can, kind of adjust. If I have to move location, I'm okay with it. If I have to kind of, help with household chores, I'm perfect with that. If I have to live in a joint family, I'm perfectly fine with that. If I have to travel to the in-laws place every weekend, I'm perfectly fine with that. Those can be adjusted. Those are your negotiables. Focus 80% of your premarital discussion with your partner on the non-negotiables, and I think you would have laid the foundation to a very, very happy marriage.
Thank you, Raj. Any takeaways, audience? Please put it on the chat. Equality, shared value and dreams, me time and personal space. I think that was the SHEmantra from Raj. Moving further, Anu, can I ask you, as we get ready towards fulfilling relationships, What are the pitfalls and watch outs? What should we be mindful of?
I think that's a very relevant question, Rashmi, because as we are looking at setting relationships, we also need to be mindful of what is it that we are getting into and how do we come prepared for that. And we all know relationship is a very tricky subject, right? Some we are born with and some we decide to get into. How I look at pitfalls, really, I look at pitfalls are like villains. When they appear, then there is complete chaos. Marital relationships, I think we've discussed quite a bit, I think with the expertise of Preeti and Raj. So let me give you another example with that of my now adult daughter. So I'm sharing this with absolute openness. So after my husband had passed away, unfortunately, a few years back, initially we had these feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy. Am I good enough? What followed was this need from my side, and maybe hers as well, to kind of overplease, bend backwards, and to compensate for it. We were left with feelings of being burdened, obligated, and maybe unbalanced at times because there was no mutual give and take. Some insecurities had set in, and I was not too sure whether I could be truthful, be completely vulnerable, still be understood, and be in a caring relationship with her. And I can add by saying that as women, we're also very emotional beings. We're constantly looking for validations and assurances. And if it's not reciprocated in equal measure, or at times it's even overdone, there is trouble. So these are some of the pitfalls. And what is it that we could be mindful of is we decided that we are going to set clear expectations from each other.
Wonderful.
We expected each other as a whole. We said we learn to complement each other, much like the yin and the yang concept. And instead of looking at what was missing, we started appreciating what was there. And like as they cliched, they say, right, that you have the perspective of the glass full or glass half empty. I go on to saying that we were at least happy we have a glass. So we no longer felt the need to change each other. Also, as Mahatma Gandhi said, right, that if you want to see change, be the change yourself. And another very important thing that we did was that we moved away from the feeling of guilt and preconceived notions or jumping to conclusions. A simple mantra was just ask, talk, be curious, listen, and be receptive. And we did not let conflicts to simmer, always make up, kiss and make up before going to bed. And I must say, importantly, what we have done successfully is that we have really given ourselves space to be. And I can very confidently say that we are the best of friends. So relationships are very fragile. They take ages to develop, but they can be snapped in a moment. So my one point takeaway is that they should be handled with utmost care.
Takeaway, audience. Self-doubt, insecurity, and being emotional may be hindrances in a relationship. We need to be crystal clear in our communication, and we need to be mindful to accept people as a whole and appreciate each other instead of seeing the drawbacks. Now, men are born in Mars and women in Venus. Now, let me ask you one thing. Do men see things and read signals differently?
Rashmi, I'll take that. Yes, definitely they do see things differently. Let me just quickly give you an analogy. When you say dishes, the woman thinks about what needs to be done in the kitchen. There's a lot of cleaning left and the food comes after that. When you say dishes, the man starts thinking about what am I going to get for dinner today? Is it roti nice sabji, a faluda, some sweets, ice cream. You see, they do think differently. They are as different as chalk and cheese. That's how they are. I'll give you three scenarios where you can see the difference. Okay. There's a man coming back from work and he finds the lady of the house is very silent, sitting down on the sofa. Now, a man can't figure out cues. If the woman is silent, he simply doesn't know which of the 100 things is possible. So he just thinks of two ways of reacting to that. The first one is he wants to flee that room and get into the next room and lock himself because he doesn't know what's happening. Okay. The second reaction is the man just passes by the woman, keeps his laptop somewhere, looks at her, and he says, "Sab theek hai na?" And then he is off. That's the way they react.
Wonderful.
The second scenario is the way they show their love and care to women is to buy them the things that they want. Okay. So if the woman is saying that I'm hungry, the first thing he does is just takes up his iPhone, opens the Swiggy or Zomato, and then he orders a meal. And when it's delivered at home, he comes and lays it out on the table and he acts as if he's made the 4-course meal for her. That's how men are. The third scenario is, let's assume that she's not well at home. How do you expect a man to react in such a scenario? You would actually want him to touch your forehead, to touch your neck, to hold your hands, or to put his hands around you and ask, what's happening? Can I get you a cup of hot coffee? Would a vada pav do? But no, our man is not going to do anything of that. Don't make the mistake of expecting that. What he is going to do is just going to run into the drawing room, open the drawer there, pick up a Dolo 650, come and give it to you.
Wonderful.
A man always fixes issues. For him, relationship problem, take Dolo 650. Family problem, take Dolo 650. Problem at office, take Dolo 650. He will give you a Dolo 650 for every problem. That's the way men are. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Women are full of emotion and men believe in fixing a problem. Haha, and that is really very true, Raj.
Thank you.
I think it's time to take on the chats. I think we have a couple of questions, and what I could gather, Manos, a few of them. I think it is Mini asking, curiosity and showing interest in your partner is more potent for a long-lasting and happy relationship than something like the absence of conflict. Is that so? Who would like to answer that?
I'll take the first one. I think curiosity and showing care in what the other person likes is very, very fundamental to a successful relationship. You have to be curious. You should know what the other person likes. You should know what the other person dislikes. Whether it's music or food or clothes or people or movies or whatever it is, you have to do that. But that comes only when you listen. That comes only when you observe. That comes only when you understand. And when you get all these three, you start caring for it.
Wonderful. I think there's another question from Akriti. How do you know if the person you are with is really the one and your relationship is meant to last? Who would like to answer that? Raj?
Yeah, Rashmi, I can take that. So there are multiple ways that people can know. It has to be coming from, like what Raj just said. Is the person curious enough? Is he trying or she trying to understand your love language? Now, Gary Chapman has talked in his book very beautifully, and we don't really understand each other's love language enough. We got to be curious, as he said, that what is the way each one of us express or feel our love, right? So for me, if for example, it could be just a hug or quality time of 10 minutes in the day, but for my husband, it could be a cup of brewing hot tea, and that too without asking, right? So we got to be curious enough, is what Raj mentioned also, and also the commitment that the person brings, the presence that the person brings when you're talking. Is he continuously looking in the phone? Is there mutual respect? Is there listening, empathy, trust, all of those things? So
Wonderful.
And it is to take some time. Take some time before you actually decide onto things. I think that's very, very important.
There is another question that is cropped up. Can you please list the best qualities you have to bring to a relationship? Anu, would you like to answer that?
So I think I've said some of it earlier as well, but I think first thing that comes to my mind is actually being authentic. And if you're authentic and be yourself and you're complete in that, right? And I can also take from the earlier sessions where it was that how comfortable are you in your skin? Are you really being yourself? And then are these fundamental qualities, values, if I may call them, about mutual respect, care, and there needs to be dignity in the relationship, right? I can't be expected the other or me to take the other for granted. Because if I'm not going to be caring in equal measure, there cannot be trust in that relationship. And I feel that's the fundamental building block of any relationship. There has to be a trust. Loving self and then loving the other, I think.
I hope your question is answered.
Yeah.
No, there is another question. I think it is from Shikha. What are generally the biggest fears about relationship? So who would take that?
I'll take that. I think if you look at the man's side of it, since women are here and maybe you want to hear a man's perspective. If you take a man's side of it, the first fear that he has is she going to change me? That's a fear that's there from when he gets up in the morning till he goes to sleep. And the fear is real because his family has told him, his friends have told him, experience has taught him, the movies have taught him, and he feels day in and day out, is she going to change me? And how do I resist that? Okay, that's a real fear. There is another fear on the man's side. Will I be able to fulfill my obligations, my duties as a man in the relationship, as a father in the relationship? He feels very, very vulnerable about it. And you find today's millennials also talk about being financially secure before stepping into marriage. They're seriously thinking about those duties and responsibilities. That has fundamentally not changed. A lot has changed in this world. There's been a paradigm shift. The woman is 50, the man is 50. But what is there inside has not changed much. The man still thinks that he needs to fulfill those responsibilities. So that's a real fear for him. The other thing is, will I be able to live up to the expectations of the other person? Am I as romantic as the Shah Rukh Khans and the Hrithik Roshans of this world are? That's something that he constantly thinks about because he knows that they have seen a lot of movies and then they're full of emotions and then they expect and they're really sharp at noticing all these things. So the man has a lot of worries. In fact, if somebody runs a school for that, I tell you, that school will be full. 3 shifts and will be full. All the men who are going to get married would line up to that. Okay, these are real, genuine fears that men have. And men also have another thing, their inadequacy with expressing and dealing with emotions. This is a very tough one that men deal with. Will I be able to bring out that energy in me to deal with those emotions? Because I hear, or at least I have seen, that they are very, very emotional. Emotional, not in the negative sense, but in the sense of expressing their emotions and feelings. Men are not prone to it. Men are prone to keeping their feelings with themselves. Men are prone to saying less. Men are prone not to open up too much to women, because they know the women are really smart to find out whatever they want. And imagine if a man starts talking too much, then he's done. He'll know everything about him. So that's a fear he has. These are some fears that I have noticed in men.
Wonderful. Raj, you don't really have to worry so much, all the women are with you. So I think we just have enough time to take on one more question. Kavita, is that right?
Yeah, or actually, a lot of the women are asking how to get in touch with Raj. Raj,
you become very popular.
Oh.
Raj, we are going to have a SHEmantra session with you. That's what
sure.
we decided.
I'm really honored to be there. And
So,
I'm a person who believes that there is only one mantra in this world. Only one mantra.
SHEmantra.
SHEmantra.
Yes.
You will do a masterclass for our spouses.
Sure.
So should we conclude? Or
Yes, please. Yes,
we can take one more question.
I think it's close to 4:30. So if we can conclude,
Okay.
that would be great.
So remember, I think we all should remember that all relationships go through hell and real relationships get through it. And we all learn through experience. Relationships don't always make you feel good, but when we begin to trust the intentions and see problem as an opportunity, it becomes the game changer. I would like to thank the panel for such an enlightening and interesting views on relationships. Thank you, audience. Hope you are all carrying back the essence of good relationships. And a perfect relationship isn't perfect. It's just that both people never give up. All the best to you all for a lovely relationship. Signing off, Rashmi Bhargava.
Just 1 second. I wanted to say that I was the lucky recipient of this book.
Oh, okay.
So thank you, Raj, for sending it to me. And I'm just going to read one of the things that you have written, right? The only woman a man can understand is, you got it right, his mother. And you've written, the umbilical cord is virtually intact in every husband. He thinks she understands him because she never questions him. We can have a whole discussion on this, Raj, and we can do it for half a day, and we will never come to a conclusion on this.
Oh, thank you, Kavita. Thank you. You made my day.
Yes, lovely book. Thank you for sending it to me. And lucky winners who ask good questions. Mr. Raj is going to pick your question and he's going to mail the book to you also. Take this time, put out your questions, and want to thank Raj for coming here. And really, you brought a lot of joy to all the women today. And we all woke up and saying, oh, a man is saying this. Okay, let's listen. So we were thinking we should have had our spouses with us. But thank you so much, Raj. Thank you, Preeti, Anu, and Rashmi. Everyone's been messaging me. She looks so beautiful. She's beaming. So thank you guys for a wonderful...
Don't tell them my age.
No, we will not. You're the youngest member of SHEmantra. Forget it.
Right.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
you
everybody.
so much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody,
everyone.
for
Thank
being
you.
very, very participative audience. I was just watching it there. It was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. That was exciting, right? It's always nice to have a different point of view. And I think from listening to everyone, my conclusion is that relationships are the ultimate currency. They enrich our lives, and an integral part of all the success that we get all around. They cannot be taxed. They cannot be stolen. They increase in value with time. And ultimately, you have to spend it and invest in it wisely. Agree?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Raj. And it does not come easy, right? It requires hard work, sacrifices, a lot of love, respect, understanding, compromise, collaboration. You name it, a relationship needs everything.